welcome to the Wow Embossing channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a way of using your dies with your embossing powders to get a really fun look. And we're going to be using a new set of Funky Fossil embossing powders. So this is called the Summer Twilight Trio. We've got this pale purple that is called Lavender Fields. We've got this dark purple that's got black flecks in it that is called Blackberry. And we've got this really cool greeny colour, which I can't wait to show you in a little bit, that is called Verdant. And they are, particularly this one, speciality embossing powders. And you'll see that they give some really nice effects. So the first thing that I want to do with each of these embossing powders is to make an embossed panel. So I'm going to cover a piece of just plain white cardstock with some embossing ink. And then I'm going to use this Verdant first. You can see it's green, but it's got kind of flecks of like goldy bronze in it. So I'm going to just pour that off because I want to cover the whole sheet. And normally I would kind of flick this to get any extra powder off, but with this one I don't want to do that because it's got all those extra flecks in. They're going to come off if I flick it too much because they're a much denser powder. And it also means where I would usually heat emboss from the top, I'm going to do it from underneath to make sure that those gold pieces don't kind of fly away. And look how absolutely beautiful that is with the gold going through it. I'm actually going to cover it one more time, just so that we get a really nice, thick, kind of almost enamelled look to it. So now after that second coat, we've got this gorgeously thick and glossy look to it. So then here I've got that Lavender Fields. I actually put 3 coats on of the Lavender Fields because it's a bit lighter, so it took 3 coats to kind of build it up more. And then we've got this one, which is the Blackberry, which you can see has got that gorgeous black fleck in it. And I'm going to use these to die cut with. So I'm going to use this Himalayan Blue Poppy layering die set from Altenew, and I'm going to build these poppies up from a glossy cardstock. So now I've got all my die cut pieces, and I've also just die cut a few other things. So this bit just from some purple cardstock, and then the centres from a mix of like yellow and gold cardstocks. And you can see these pieces that I've cut out of the cardstock that I've covered with embossing powder are really shiny and textured, and especially these where they've got the specialty, so this big gold flecks, small black flecks going through it. It looks really gorgeous. And then it's really easy to put these together. There's instructions on the back of the pack, and there's also kind of guides on that actual die cut. You can see there's like an arrow here, so if we line up all the arrows as we go, then that will go together nicely. So if I do it as per the layering guide so that you can see what I'm doing. So I've got this piece here, and then this piece here is this one, so that is going to go onto there. And I'm not going to use glue for this because the shininess on the embossing powder makes it take longer to stick, whereas this will stick straight away. So I'm using these sheets full of small glue dots, and they will stick straight away. You want to make sure you're using the permanent glue dots, not temporary ones. You might not be able to see it on screen, but I've used some of this already, so in real life you can kind of see where all the little dots are. So with some of the smaller die cuts I can use up some of the little dots that are kind of left around. So then you can see that the next step is just this little piece here. That goes on there. And then I've got this piece here. With these I'm only just putting glue dots just on the end because it's only really the centre that you want to do. And it's really easy to line them up because I've got this keyhole shape. Then I just need to line up the keyhole with the bits underneath, and I know it's in the right place. So then these centre bits, I like to use this kind of as a guide because these obviously don't have the keyhole because it would show on those. But I can see that that's going just above the keyhole. It doesn't matter if it's not in exactly the right place. It's a flower, it doesn't need to be in exactly the right place, but I like to use it as a guide. And then this piece I will cover because that's going right across the front, so I'm going to make sure that I get dots all across the back of it. That's that part of the flower. Then I'm going to move on to this part, and this part has got the arrows on. So you can see this is this piece. And then I've got this piece to lay over the top. And again, I'm just lining up that arrow in the middle. Then we've got our two flowers and all the leaves. So I'm going to use this Masonry Wall 3D embossing folder. This is from Altenew as well. I'm going to put in my card front so that the embossing folder just kind of comes part way across the card. So now I've got this really cool kind of partial embossed panel. So then I'm going to pop this in here. It's just an old lid of a chocolate box, and it's just going to let me do a bit of flicking without getting it absolutely all over the place. So I've got here some gold alcohol ink, so it's the Pinata Rich Gold. I'm just going to dip in my paintbrush. I'm just going to flick it onto here. Now I'm going to wash this brush in rubbing alcohol as opposed to water, because that'll be how I'll get it clean easiest. So then I just want to add a little bit of foam tape, just these kind of thin foam strips that I've got, to the back of this sentiment. I'm going to put some glue on the first couple of letters because they're going to go onto this, which is a little bit higher. And then I'm going to add a few of these Spellbinders gold gems. And then there's our finished card, and you can see all of the extra shine and height that embossed cardstock gives. And also, we only used white cardstock for the green and both shades of purple. You could have even used embossing powders for the other pieces as well. I decided just to stick with those ones, and it gives a really lovely shine texture to it. So I really hope that you've enjoyed today's tutorial. If you have, I'd really appreciate you clicking like below, and you can also press subscribe if you'd like to see future videos. If you press the bell button and select all, then YouTube will also notify you when there's a new video available. All of the products that I've used for today's card are listed in the description below, and there's also a link there to the blog where you can find a picture supply list if that helps you find what you're looking for. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.